Today, I would like to share a bit my experience about how custom applications can help you and your company to create better scenarios, to optimize them, how you can start developing a custom application. Sometimes people think that it's really hard, but basically there is nothing hard in that, of course, if you know what to do. So basically, I will be happy to share that with you. And today, we'll have 4 topics, basically. First one is what is an Integromat custom application and how it can be used. Then we will talk about when it's better to create a custom application instead of using HTTP request. And a quick answer from me is here always. Then how can you develop a custom application, custom app structure, and how to create a trigger application to trigger another scenario. So basically, first I wanted to talk about how to create. I wanted to create in Live that trigger mode application, but I created also for you like a really step-by-step guide, a text. It's an Notion document that I will send or right after the meet or this webinar or maybe tomorrow. So basically, this is a step-by-step guide how to create a custom application to trigger one scenario from another. So that's why I have today 2 options for you, and I would like you to answer a simple question. After topic 1 and topic 2, I can either create this application, how to trigger one scenario from another, or I can create this other simple application using Airtable, creating dynamic connections, right? So yeah, until I'm talking about first and second topic, please like put 1 or 2 in the message in the chat. Okay, thank you. So yeah, let's go. What is an Integromat custom application, right? And I think the best way to tell you what's an Integromat custom app is just to show it to you, right? So for today, I prepared like a really simple custom Airtable app. Of course, I know that the Integromat already has an Airtable application, but I just decided to show it to you, like so you can have better understanding how a custom app is developed, right? So, and this is basically a custom application. So a custom application is basically like the same Integromat applications that you use like every day in your scenarios. It's just like built customly by you, and until you publish it, at least it's visible only to you. It has the same model structure and everything, right? So, and this application basically that I created has 3 models. First one is get record by unique field, then bulk CSV to GS and list records. So these 2 models that you can see here is basically just getting some information directly from Airtable using custom HTTP request. This one is getting by some unique field, and this one is like listing like more than 1 record. And this bulk CSV to GS model, basically it's also a simple JavaScript model that just converts a CSV array to a way so that I can bulk upload it to Google Sheet. Okay, so and I can even show you how that works. Okay, so if I just run this, download the CSV, okay, and it should basically, okay, let me just do this. Yeah, it's downloading too long. Yeah, sorry for that. I'm not sure what's happening. Let's trigger it one more time. Okay, well, okay, I'll just then explain to you basically. So what it does, it downloads a file, and then basically it's just a simple CSV file, right? So then it parses that CSV and aggregates basically everything to one array. Then on this custom application, basically just a simple JavaScript. And then I do a custom make an API call to Google Sheet. So instead of adding like to Google Sheets row one by one, I just upload them to Google Sheets in bulk using just one operation. So let's say if you have like 100 rows, you already saved 100 operations, right? And I'm not sure if Integromat will like that's what I'm talking about, but that's basically what this custom app does. Okay, so then how Integromat custom application can be used in another way. Okay, so most of you, I think, are thinking that custom applications are mostly used to by some SaaS companies that they can create a custom application and other Integromat users can use it. But that's not the only use case. And I mostly use Integromat for even just for even just instead of using custom HTTP model or a webhook model, right? Because in this case, I have much more flexibility. Sometimes I use just to create some simple JavaScript function or a more complex one, right? To optimize my scenario, to structure my data in the right way so I can use that then in other actions in scenario and so on and so on. Sometimes I use customX to trigger another Integromat scenario. Of course, you can do it also using like custom HTTP request and webhooks. But in this case, yeah, like your scenarios become like looks nicer, and it's there is much less opportunities to create errors. And of course, like I use really often to just optimize the scenario. What I mean by that, so I'm like sometimes instead of all that iterator, aggregator functions and so on, I just create a custom app that transforms my data to the correct data so they can use it further. When it's better to create a custom application instead of using HTTP request, and I think I already told that it's almost always. Sometimes you need to just reuse the same request in different scenarios and roles. So let's say you created a scenario and there are like much custom HTTP requests, you have much roles, or you can need to use the same HTTP request in different scenarios. And what you do, you're just copying that model. And if you need to make changes, let's say you need to change the endpoint or the authorization or anything. So you need to make changes then in all of your HTTP models. If you have a custom app instead, you need to do that change only once in your custom application. Sometimes you need to modify the response data structure for easier scenario building, right? So let's say you make an HTTP request somewhere and you get back an array or of values or something like that, but you need to convert it to a collection first, or you need to wrap it into some into some other collection and so on. But you can do that using HTTP request. Of course, you can do something if you add some modificator after that model, but you can't do everything. And in this case, custom app also helps you because using custom apps, you can not only make that HTTP request, but also doing really different interesting things with the output. Okay, then sometimes you need just some covered JSON JavaScript, as already told about that. And one more interesting thing that a custom application gives you, it gives you the ability to make multiple requests within one model. So you can, for example, have let's say you have an application where you need to log in first and then to make the request itself, right? That's really often use case. So in most cases, what you do, you add like two HTTP requests, the two HTTP request models, right? And so on and so on. But that not always works correctly, right? So, and in custom apps, you can create a model which will do like 1, like 2, 3, 5, or even 10 requests to some endpoints, and will return back to you all the data from all that endpoints. And of course, it's better to use a custom app, even if you want your scenario to look nicer and more optimized. Okay. So yeah, and the last one, when you're so experienced in building custom apps, then it's easier for you to build one than to use the custom HTTP model. Okay. I don't say that I don't use a custom HTTP model at all. I use it, and really often, but in most cases just to test some endpoint, right? So and that Integromat works well with that endpoint. But after I tested, I mostly create a custom app already for it, because it's really if it's a simple HTTP request, it's a really 5-minute setup. But for future, I understand that if in any case I will need to do some customization, I will be able to do that in the custom app. Okay, so and before basically before starting building that custom application, I prepared some presents for you, as this is my first webinar. So first of all, I prepared like a big text document like about that, how to create your own custom application to trigger one scenario from another. And then I also prepared like 10 free consultations for everybody who wants to get a free consultation about custom application or Integromat or anything you want. So, and you can find that in that QR codes. And I can send also the links to the chat. But I think now we can start already the most interesting part that you're waiting for. So let's build something. Let me just see the messages. Okay, I can see 2, 2, 1. Both.
I think that mostly choose the one.
The first one.
No, the second one. Mostly they choose the both, but I think the second one.
Yeah, so unfortunately, like if you have time, of course, I'd be happy to show you both. But basically for the first, I prepared a big document, right? So, and you all of you will get the document. And if you have any questions about that, you can just connect and ask me. So I think it's better to show you the second one because you get the first in anyway. So let's start building that. So dynamic connections. I think it's a really interesting question for really much of you, as I can see much questions about that, how to create dynamic connections to Airtable or to any other application. And today I will show you how to do that. So I have a ready-made app here, so I won't show it to you. I will create a new one instead. So creating a custom app, you always start by clicking this button in your My Apps menu. You add a name, a label, description, and some theme. Okay, so and I will just name it webinar 2 because I have webinar 1 custom app. Okay, and let's call it custom. I don't want any description right now. I'll just choose the color, let it be black. Okay, and of course you can add some logos here. Okay, let me just put it here. You can add some logos here, like your own logo of your application, or you can just name it Stepan or have whatever you want, but I will just make it black for now. Okay, so now I click save. Let's search for that workshop. Let's say it's okay. Where is that? Yes, here it is. Okay, so I think I might start with this base and to explain you basically what that JSON is. So basically, Integromat custom application is really like a bunch of JSON documents that you need just to structure in the right way. And for each of that, basically tabs, how to correctly structure your JSON-C document. Of course, you can find the most answers in the documentation here. Okay, so today I will tell you basically the basics, like what everything means. But in any case, everything is in the documentation. So, and first of all, we can see the base tab. Okay, so this is the first section that you see when you create a new application. In this tab, you add everything that is reusable in all your models or webhooks, right? So what I mean reusable, like for example, the base, if you're familiar like with APIs and how to make API requests to some endpoints, you all know that basically each application API of an application has some base URL, right? And then there are some rows after. So, and here in the base, you just add the base URL of that application. So you don't need to copy that all over all your models. What else can go here? Of course, the authorization, right? So because you need to, when you create a request, you need to authorize it like almost always. And you can add that also that to the base. So you don't need to copy that through all your models. So for now, I'll just go to, I prepared a really simple table, Airtable. I'll call it contacts leads. And I have really like 3 records here, 3 simple records. I open my Airtable documentation, API documentation. If somebody doesn't know, you can go under help and then API documentation, and you will see basically the full Airtable documentation. And I can see my leads table here. And I can see that I can list record, retrieve, create, update, delete, and so on and so on. And first thing I do is just try to find out the base URL of that API. And in this case, it will be https airtable.com v0. So I just go back to my application and replace this example with this one. Okay, that's great. So now I need also to add some authorization, right? And according to Airtable API, my authorization should be like, I need to add some headers with authorization bearer and then my API key. Don't worry that I show the API key to all of you because I created a fully new Airtable account. So even if somebody will get access, nobody will see really interesting, anything interesting there. So I'll add that headers to my base also, so I don't need then to add that to each model. And don't worry, I will show to you also how to create dynamic connections. Okay, so authorization. I need to add that to headers. I'll open the headers object. And I just copy this first. Okay. So now I added my everything I need to make a request. One thing I change here is I change here the API key, because I don't want just to know that constant API key. In most cases, I want the users to have the ability to create like dynamic like connections, right? So using the connections dropdown. So for that, in Integromat, there is special directive, and you can also, as you can see, add dynamic values here. If you add just the same, I call it JSON tags, as you do that in Integromat. And to access the connection, you start with the connection word and then add the name of your parameter. Okay. When I create the connection, I will explain to you in a bit more details. So for now, I just added a dynamic connection here. Okay, so after you create the base, you need to create the connection basically. So you need to give the ability for the user to add their API keys or any other way. So I go to the connection tab, click create new connection and name it API key. As you can see, there are much types of connections that you can use, and the Integromat prepared really much ready-made connections for you, so it's really easy to create even an OAuth too. But Airtable uses just a simple API key, so I'll just choose that one. And here we can see something really similar as in the base, with one simple exception. Basically, this in the connection, this request is used by Integromat to verify the connection, right? So whenever someone adds their API key and clicks add, Integromat makes a request to this URL to verify it. So in most cases, it should be something really, it should be an API endpoint that is the same for each user. For example, in some cases, it can be like example com who am I. Sometimes it's like users, current user or account. So basically anything like that allows Integromat to verify that connection. But unfortunately, Airtable does not have anything like that because every connection has, like, to make a request, you need at least the app ID and the table name. So like we are not able to do verification, but that's basically fine if you're doing for yourself. Don't do it if you will publish it, but just for yourself, you can just delete this. And then I need also to specify some parameters. So what are the parameters? And you will see that parameters in all your models, basically, and also in the connection. So basically in the parameters tab, you're adding all the fields that you want the user to be able to fill in. Okay, so in this case, and this is an array, as you can see, an array of JSON objects that has the next keys. It has a name, it's a required key. It has a type, and you can specify different types here. It can be text, date. So for example, if you want to restrict the user just to add dates or email or anything, then it has a label. This basically is just, you know, just to show the user the field in a bit nicer way, and either it's required or no. Okay, I will show it to you like how it looks in the real application a bit later. For now, I'll just leave this one simple parameter because I don't need any more. And I'll just be sure that my connection name, so this parameter, is the same as I used in the base. Okay, yes, it's the same. So basically then when the user adds, then fills in that fields, when he creates a connection, you're able to use that in your requests. And to be able to use that, you need to add this connection and then the parameter name. In this case, it's just API key. Okay, that's fine. I don't have any webhooks here, so I'll just go directly to models. I think like most of you know what webhooks means. It's basically just also an ability to create webhooks, and you specify here how the webhooks are attached or detached from the application. Airtable does not have webhooks, so we just won't create that right now. And then the most interesting part, the models. Okay, so, and I will try, depending on how much time we will have, I will try to create as much models as possible. For now, I'll just create a real simple one. It will be an action. So for example, I want to get, let's say I want to get a record by its ID, right? And for that, I created a connection, the API key connection. This will be a read module, and I'll name it Airtable, get Airtable record by ID, but that's not correct. I should have the label. And the name should always start with small letter and does not have spaces. Okay. I'll just add the same description for now. Okay. I created my first model. And as you see, like basically it has similar structure as the base. It has URL, it has method, it has QS, so it means query parameters, body, headers, and response. So basically in this case, the URL is the endpoint where the request will be sent. The method is basically the method of the HTTP request that you're sending. And of course, like if you did like some HTTP request, you know that it can have post, get, or anything else. So the QS are the query parameters that you need to specify to send that request. Then the body, if you need some headers. And the most interesting thing is the response, right? So this response directive is responsible for that, how Integromat should output your response, right? So let's say you're making an HTTP request. I can even show it to you here. I prepared here also just it's a simple HTTP request that gets a list of leads. And if I run it, I can see here it's data, under data, then I can see a records array, right? So it's an array of records. So, and I know that if I make a request to Airtable, I will get an array of records, okay? And here I can specify basically how I want that to output. For example, I want to output it and wrap it into some result object. In this case, I will not have only like data records. In this case, I will have data, result, and then records. Okay, so let's start basically building this. So I will take my API key app. Of course, I added that as static text right now, but of course you can also make it mappable. For now, let's just make it more simple. I don't have any body. My method will be get. I don't have any headers, and of course you can also delete that, but just to show you, I will just leave it for now. Okay, great. Basically, my first model is ready to test. One thing I will just do, I will just delete these parameters here, and we'll get back to it a bit later. So my model is ready to test, and I can refresh it, my scenario, and try it out. I'll add road here. I search for webinar, and as you can see, my application is already available here as any other application. And I have the one single model that I created, get Airtable record by ID. Okay, I think I need also to add the ID here. Okay, like that. So as you can see, I don't have any connection right now. And if I click add, I'm able to see that one single field that I created previously in the connection. So just to show you how it works, I will quickly create another field there. I will go to my connection, mappable parameter, sorry, not action, but connection, API key, parameters. And let's say I need not only the API key from the user, but I need also some other field. Okay, and let it be also text. If I go back to my scenario, click console and click add one more time, I see the second field also. And Integromat, of course, automatically saves all that parameters, and you're able to use that in your requests. Okay, so I don't need that. I'll just save, refresh, and just add my API key. I think it's correct. Yes. Okay, my connection is ready. I don't have any other parameters because I just want to test out this connection right now. So if I click on once, I should do get back, yeah, and I have it. So basically we made our first like simple HTTP request to Airtable API using the custom application. And if I open it up, I can see that it's wrapped under the result object, right? And if I go to my models, yeah, and I can see the output and it's wrapped under result. So if I add, for example, result 2 or anything else, run it one more time, it will be result 2, right? And then basically the record that I got because I added only one record. Okay, great. So basically what that means that you can like modify your output whenever, however you want. You can also even just use some JavaScript, create some JavaScript function using IML functions here. And you can create that JavaScript and drop your output into JavaScript. For example, let's say it would be, let's say you create some JSON string function that, for example, converts that body into a simple text, for example, or it converts an array to a collection or anything else, right? So in this case, before giving the output to Integromat, Integromat will do all that functions for you and will give the output you need. Okay, so for now, I'll just leave it as body. Okay, great. So, and now, for example, I don't want just to like to make it constant. I of course want the user to be able to like to, for example, to add their application base ID, the table name, and the record. So to do that, I need to add that fields to parameters. And there are two types of parameters in an Airtable model. First one is static parameter, and the second one is mappable parameter. I have to say, I almost always use mappable parameters, right? Because static parameters, what's the difference? If you add a field to this tab, the user won't be able to map it from previous models. Okay, so if you want the user to be able to map a model like this, for example, I will show you like this, it's mappable, then you need to add it to mappable parameters. Okay, so, and I add basically 3 parameters here that I need. First, I need the base ID. It will be just typed text. Then I need table name. Type also text, let it be. And I need a search field that will be called record ID. And it will also type text. Okay, great. So now I have 3 parameters. I can of course add some labels and make it just a bit nicer. Let's keep it simple for now. And I am able now to, as I created them, I'm able now to use them in my communications tab. So instead of a static text here, I'll map it from the parameters. So here will be the base ID. Then instead of leads, I will have parameters table, and here also I have to have parameters. I need to add the parameters, so just tell Integromat that I want to get that information from the parameters tab. And the last one, parameters record. Okay, and just to be sure that it's the same, base ID, record ID. Yes, I think I named that the same. It's really important, so the name here that you use and here is the same, because otherwise it won't work. Okay. Okay, so now let's refresh our scenario. Let's see. Okay, now I have here 3 fields that I can.
I believe you had parameters misspelled.
Sorry?
You have a type in parameter.
Yeah, this one. Yeah, sorry. Okay, so I saved that. Let me just go now to my Airtable. Just add here base ID.
I think you still have a parameter misspelled. The
Which
middle one is spelled with an E.
Yeah, the second one.
A, yes.
one?
That one right there, parameters, is misspelled.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so we have parameters, and so we have leads, and then we need to add also the records ID, right? So let's just add the records. Let's click OK, and let's test it. If there are no misspelled, then it should work. Okay. Okay, so it worked, and basically we get the same results. Okay, but now we have the ability to map the parameters. And to be able to use dynamic connections, so for example, let's say you created a scenario for much clients, and they have all different API keys and so on, but basically you don't want to to recreate or to copy that scenario for all clients, right? So for example, you want just to use one scenario for that, but for that, of course, you would need to have some dynamic connections, because the simple Airtable application does not allow you to create that dynamic connections. So basically to do that, we'll just need to do one more simple step. We need here also add the API key parameter. Okay, so, and in this case, API key type also text. And in this case, I also give the ability for the user to map his API key or just to fill in a simple text. Okay, and I will go back to the communication tab, and directly in the model, of course, you can also change that in you can change that in base, but let's say I just want to do that just for one single model, right? And if I add the authorization headers here, it will override the my base settings. Okay, so I can just add authorization directly here. And I need to add bearer and then my API key. But for now, instead of getting that from the connection, I get it from my parameters. Okay. Just to be sure. Okay. So to be able to see that API key, I need to reload my scenario. Until then, I copy my open it. I can see the API key here now. And let's see. And just can you see this? There is also a connection link here, right? So first, I will try to just to do this run with that connection link, and I can see that it worked, right? And now I will try just to remove that connection from my module. I can do that by clicking here the delete button. If I refresh, I should see that there is no connection link to it. So it means that this model won't use the connection that we built. Okay, so yeah, I can see, and let's try it out now. Yeah, and it still works. Okay, great. So basically we created a really simple Airtable model that just makes a simple API request with 4 different parameters and with some dynamic connection. Of course, if it's a dynamic connection, just a simple API key connection, it's really easy to do that. If it's an OAuth2 or some other more complex connections, of course, it's still possible, but much harder. But if you have just simple API key, as you can see, it's really simple. Okay, so now I think we have, I think we might talk about everything as we have 15 minutes left. So I think we can go through the questions. Right
Yeah.
We have so much time left. Yeah.
Stefan, thank you so much for this interesting webinar. I learned a lot for myself, and so I hope you as well. It's time for Q&A, but before that, Zoe will be sending a feedback form. It will take just 2 minutes to fill this form up. So maybe while we do the Q&A, you can slowly fill the form up. Please, if someone has a question, raise your hand and we can call you and you unmute yourself. We can start. Do you have a question, anyone? Yeah. I hope I pronounce it correctly. Isma, please.
Yeah, hello. Thank you for good demonstration. I was wondering, the Integromat has these connections they are stored, but is it possible to change after they are stored? Because I couldn't do that.
What do you mean to change?
Like change the API key or something text inside the connection.
Oh, when you already created the connection here?
Yeah.
No, unfortunately, you can't change that. You can only delete that and create a new one.
Yeah, shouldn't that be one of the needed options?
And why would you need that? Do you need to be able to delete the connection?
Yeah, I can delete it, but I was just thinking that when it's used in some other apps that it's not changing, because then I need to put it back in all of those.
Okay, well, in any case, if it's a simple API key, for example, I showed it as I showed it right now to you. So you can just, instead of using the connections, right, as it here, and just add connection here, you can just use the API key directly as simple parameter, right? And in this case, of course, you can change and you can do anything you want with that. And
Yeah,
right.
It was very good tip. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay,
great.
thank you. Thank you so much for this question. Let's go to the next question here. Please, Mahmoud.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you for the good webinar. I have a question. I think the scenario at the end of day will be converted to an API. It's okay. Now, I mean, if I want to automatically call a scenario, actually it's an API with some input and output. I want to set some restriction on that API. For example, number of rate limit or other restrictions. Is it possible with Integromat or not?
You want to add some restrictions to, like directly to some API, you mean? Or when you want to trigger some other scenario?
I want to put some restriction on usage of a scenario. For example, I want to have a scenario that will be called only 10 times a minute. Okay. Is there any possibility to configure the rate limit of scenario call or not?
Oh, got it. So for example, you want a scenario just to call once per 10 minutes or 10
yes.
times per minute? Yeah, definitely. So you can if it's just a simple scenario, it doesn't matter if it's a webhook or something, you can always go to scenario settings. And there are different restrictions that you can add here. Or a better solution basically is just if instead of webhooks, sometimes it's better to use some watch responses, for example, and then just run this scenario, some watch model instead of trigger, and then just run the scenario every 10 minutes and then add a filter, for example, to run only like 10 requests or something. If you would like to to restrict that somehow, like using custom applications, right? That's basically, I think, should not be possible because you can't just add a sleep here or something, right? Okay, did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, yeah, no worries.
Israel will be next.
Hi.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you. I have a question. Can you show us how to create a new parameter in the model that I can get a list from my API? For example, a list of forms, or I mean ID and text, but inside a parameter inside the model.
Okay, so you mean a list of something? Like
Yeah.
multiple bundles?
For example, I have a API of list of cities. Okay.
Okay.
I want to get the cities list and show it inside the parameter like a conv box.
Okay. Well, look, basically like this API, in this case, if I just, I'm not sure if I understand you correctly, but in this case, if I just remove this record ID, and I think I will just, add body here. Okay, so I should already get a list of records instead of just, yeah, here I have a list of records, but this is just, an array. If you want, you're also able to basically to wrap that and to create multiple bundles.
No,
that iterate.
sorry, Sorry, I mean in the mappable parameter, to add a
Yes.
parameter that gets the records from the API.
Oh, okay, got it. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, sorry. Definitely you can. For that, you need to use remote. I don't have so much time to talk about, but basically you can create a remote procedure for that, right? So, and if you, for example, create one, let's say it also uses the connection API key. So basically a remote procedure is like you're structuring it in the same way as a simple model, of course. So basically a remote procedure is making an API request to some endpoint, right? And then when you create that remote procedure, you're able to use that remote procedure under your parameters. So for example, instead of this, you can even, there is a drop down, just you add it like this. And in that case, like you will not have, just static parameters. It will get dynamic parameters. And an example of RPC is here under search records in Airtable. So for example, as you can see, it's loading something. So basically Integromat loaded for me the base list, the list of table.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Yes. That's done.
What I meant. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
No worries.
Next question is here. Vladimir, please.
Hi there. Thank you for the presentation. I have a question. Is it possible to create the custom connector using some kind of interfaces like API or CLI, so programmatic interfaces, or it's possible only from user experience here in browser?
Okay, you mean to create the connection itself?
No, I mean creation the connector from scratch.
Oh, you mean
because
no, you can also use Visual Studio. So yeah, I showed you basically just from Integromat. I understand your question. I just showed you Integromats because basically like I also started with that just to understand how it works. But of course they have a Visual Studio connector, and it has you can just link to it via an API, and you can fully develop your application in Visual Studio.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, that sounds fair.
Okay.
Next question, Christian.
Yes, hello. I have non-technical question, but it's more like business oriented.
Okay.
As a business owner, how much we should pay for that kind of work, for that custom integrations inside Integromat?
That's a good question. How much? Well, I think it depends.
Yeah, maybe some kind of range, because it's like not.
Yeah, I understand. Well, look, like first of all, you need to understand that building custom app is like, I just show you a really simple way, right? So in most cases, first what you need to understand, like how that custom app will be used. Will that custom app will be used only by you, or it will be used by thousands of users, right? Because creating a custom app just for yourself is one thing, right? So you don't need to specify that labels. Maybe you don't need to use RPC, just simple API request or something. In that case, it's just almost the same as custom HTTP request. But if you want that other users to be able to use it, of course, then you need to also think about user experience, right? And it can be a fully different application. It can do the same, but it's a fully different application. And I think the range should start like, okay, so let's say starting from 300 and up to, I don't know, even 200,000. So it really depends. Because sometimes you can develop a custom application within 1, 2, 3, 4 hours, and sometimes it takes hundreds of hours for you, because you have 100, 200 endpoints, and each of that endpoints has RPCs and so on and so on. So I can tell you definitely how much it should cost. I think the best option is always to like have some time-based. So for example, some time-based developer hours. So for example, you pay for development hours, like time and materials, because otherwise it's really hard.
Yeah, Alex Rota wrote in the chat box, I have heard $501,000.
$105,000.
$501,000, yeah.
500,000.
From the 500 until $1,000, yeah.
Per API endpoint. Depends on, well, you know, for example, I have sometimes there are like models or API endpoints that I can create in 50 minutes. Sometimes it takes 4 hours, so or even 20 hours. So it's like I can't say.
We have the 4 minutes left, and Christian, please ask your question.
Just thank you. I have no more question. Thank you, Stepan.
Yeah.
Okay, next question, Mans.
Yeah, thanks for a good presentation, but I was just wondering also, how do you use this custom application to start another scenario from here?
Okay, well, as I told you, all of you will get by email, I guess, like a document. It's an Ocean document that it's a step-by-step guide basically how to do it. But
okay, well,
yeah,
in that case, you don't need to show it here. We can save the time. If it's in there, everything.
Yeah, it will be in there. But but basically, I can just tell in a few words what is that. So basically, how you start another scenario from another. In most cases, you add here instead of basic trigger, you have a webhook here, right, with some endpoint, and then you do a HTTP request, right? And of course, you can do the same with custom application. So you can have an endpoint. So instead of just adding that, you add here the webhook URL, for example, right, directly here, and you are basically triggering that scenario. So basically, that's so simple. But you will have a step-by-step guide. So don't worry.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for all your questions. Unfortunately, we don't have more time, but I hope we were able to clarify the most important points today. I would like also to take this chance to thank you, Stepan, for giving us his time for this webinar. And he even especially put so much effort into creating this step-by-step guide for us. Thank you so much, Stepan, and thank you so much for everyone. Again, we will send you the recording of this webinar and step-by-step guide. So you can expect to receive in your inbox in these few days. All right, once again, thank you everyone for giving us today. And we look forward to see you next time, and have a great day. Yeah, I would like just maybe also to thank you everyone who joined this meeting. First, I was a bit nervous, but now everything seems fine. So like I can see questions. So I'm really happy that I could share something interesting for you. And yeah, I hope that will help you to develop better scenarios and you will have more optimized business. Yeah, thank you for my. Have a nice day, everyone.